Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide on this glorious summer day here in southern England, where I am squinting into the camera. I do apologise, but the sun is absolutely glorious today. So today it's time for some questions and answers. I've got two questions about shoes and a bonus question on cravats or ascots at the end, so stay tuned for that one. Right, okay, let's get on with it, shall we? Because I get loads of questions here at the Chap's Guide channel, and I highly recommend, if you've got a question for me, either leave it in the comment section below this video or drop me an email directly. And you can do that by using the email address which you see on the screen now, and you can find that address in the About section of the YouTube channel page. So let's see what questions we've had in. Right, so I've got a question from Michael. I've been following your channel on YouTube. Perhaps you might be able to offer some advice with regard to how I might clean my black and white Loke correspondent shoes. The white leather is looking rather dowdy of late, and I have not had much luck in finding appropriate products to bring these shoes back to a wearable condition. None of the cobblers locally have been able to help. Any advice you can offer would be appreciated. I have attached some photos to give you an idea of the condition. So here we can see some of the photographs, and as you can see, these correspondent shoes, correspondent generally meaning these two-tone black and white in this case shoes, they are absolutely beautiful from what we can see of them, but we can also see that the white leather has got some marks on it, and perhaps it's not as crisp and sharp as one would like it to be. And of course that's emphasized because it's right next to the black, and obviously the black is very stark and unyielding as a color, and it shows the white up for any imperfections. And it's a really good question, because keeping white leather in shape is something that, you know, not many people give thought to. We can all easily keep our coloured shoes in good condition, regardless of whether they're brown or burgundy or black. But when it comes to white, it's a bit more of a challenge. Now, in the first instance, if you've just got some marks on those white elements of the shoe, I would recommend starting off at the lowest common denominator. Let's see if we can get rid of those marks without any stress to the shoe. For me, that would mean using some form of saddle soap. So get yourself some saddle soap. All different brands are available. Personally, I'm a fan of Saphir shoe products. I find them to be the very best. But please don't take my advice or guarantee on that. I'm not endorsed by them. I've just been using them for somewhat over, I think, about 10 years. And I find them to be of the best quality. So get some saddle soap, whip that on there, build up a good lather, and give that shoe a good cleaning. Don't just limit yourself to the white. Do the whole shoe when you're at it. It won't harm the shoe in any way. If anything, it'll benefit the shoe and the leather. Just wipe that down and leave it to dry. Then you can determine if you've managed to get rid of those white marks off the white leather. If you haven't, well, it's time to step it up to the next level. Now, this whole process can also be applied if you have a white leather training shoe or a sneaker. Same thing entirely, because we're talking about white leather. So it doesn't matter if it's the white bit of a pair of correspondent shoes or your entirely white sneakers. This can be applied throughout the whole, shoe process, regardless of what shoe we're talking about. So we've tried the saddle soap, not where we want it to be, fair enough. Next step, and this is what I do to keep my white shoes absolutely pristine, is to apply some toothpaste. Not just any old toothpaste, but tooth whitening toothpaste. It's, the general available stuff. I'm not going to mention any brands. It depends where you live in the world, the products which will be available to you. But make sure you get a whitening toothpaste which is actually white in colour itself. The paste is white, because in some cases some of this whitening toothpaste can be a blue gel format, and of course we don't want to be introducing any extraneous colours to the white leather, because it might take on some of that blue colour. So make sure you get yourself a whitening paste, a couple of whites there, but you know what I mean, and then apply that onto the shoe, onto the leather, onto the white bits. Just the white bits. That's all we're trying to do, is return the white to perfectly white. Now, there's a light abrasive quality, obviously, within that whitening toothpaste. That's how it works. That should help get rid of those unsightly black or different coloured marks on your shoe. Oop, a little bit windy, even though it's a brutally hot day. So use that whitening toothpaste, and that should bring the white back where you want it to be. No need to worry about over applying it, you know, all we're going to do is make it more white. This is what I do on my white trainers, works all the time. Now, if this hasn't been a success, we can go nuclear on those marks, and what I would recommend here is using a product which is widely available. It's called Blanco or trainer paint or whatever you want to call it. It's called all different things. We used to call it Blanco in the military, where we used to apply this to the white white belts and things like that, generally for ceremonial purposes. But you can apply it, all the different brands make it, Kiwi, Cherry Blossom, they've all got a version of it. Get yourself some Blanco, just be very careful, dab it onto those areas that are problematic, you know, the marks or the staining on the shoe, and that should bring you back to a nice white. Now when you've done all this, then it's time to make sure that the leather is in good shape, right? Because we've subjected the leather of that shoe to a bit of stress. Apply something like a renovation cream, Saphir, Renovator, or any of the other brands, a leather feed basically, because you know, when we've applied something abrasive to the leather, we want to protect the leather afterwards. So get some of that on there. Or if you don't want to do that, if you've applied Blanco, then you just want to finish it off with a little bit of neutral shoe polish, just to seal that leather, make it look nice and shiny, and you're sorted. And that should make those splendid correspondent shoes look absolutely fantastic going forward. And you can undertake that process as often or as infrequently as you need, depending on the look of that white leather. So I hope that works for you. Let me know. I'd be very interested to find out. Okay, second shoe question. This comes from Vic and Lucy. Regular viewers of the channel, always a pleasure to get your comments. And in this particular case, they've asked, how often should one polish one's shoes, whether being worn often or left in the closet? Well, that's a really good question, actually, because, you know, how often do you polish your shoes? Do we think about it? For me, the obvious answer is when they need it, okay? I know some people get quite anal, and every time they wear a pair of shoes, they will apply polish or shoe cream to those shoes because they love the idea of having that pristine look to the shoes. You do have to be a little careful with that, because if you keep applying polish, particularly wax polish, it's going to cause build-up on the shoe, and of course that will eventually crack and the shoe will be left unsightly. Then you're going to have to strip it all right back down to the leather and start that leather that polish build-up again, and that can be time-consuming, and you know, it puts the leather of the shoe under stress. So to avoid that, quite simply, I polish my shoes when they need it. That might be once a week, it might be once a month. It really does depend on how often I wear the shoe, the weather conditions that I wear the shoe in. You know, if it rains when I'm wearing them, they may need some restorative care by me in between, you know, the regular polishings. So just by the way that they look, that's what I go by. The second part of the question really is whether being worn or left in the closet, and that's an important thing, because, you know, if you're like me, and I'm sure many of you aren't, because I'm a bit of a shoe weirdo, but I've got a very large collection of shoes, right? I enjoy the thought of opening the wardrobe and selecting a pair of shoes that I'm going to wear to match with my clothing. And that means that some of those shoes often go without being worn for quite long periods of time. You know, I don't wear them all in strict rotation. So what happens to those shoes? That's the question here. If they're left in the closet for a year or so. Well, for me, I mean, I do swap my shoes around throughout the year. So I'll have a winter collection of shoes, which have all got sort of day-night rubber soles and boots. They go away in the spring. I pack them away in storage, and then I wear all my leather-soled shoes and, you know, quite lighter shoes in the summertime. So I rotate my different types of shoes as the seasons change. I've got winter shoes, summer shoes, basically. And in that process of moving the shoes around, rotating them, I take the opportunity to look at the shoes and think, well, have I worn these this season? If I haven't, I do give them a treatment before I pack them away. Because let's remember, leather, it was a living thing, right? And it needs nourishment to look its very best, to stay looking alive. So if I haven't worn a pair of shoes for the whole season, which is possible, I will treat them with a renovation cream. Typically for me, it's Saphir Renovator, and I'll give them a whip over before I put them into storage. That way, at least I know that within the 12 months, that pair of shoes have been hydrated, they've had some care and attention, and they're ready then for the next season when they come out of storage again. So that's how I do it personally. If I haven't worn a pair of shoes for a year, I will give them a quick treatment before I put them away. And if I'm wearing them day to day, I only polish them when they need a polish. Now, after I've worn them for the day, I might just whip them over with a brush, you know, just to get rid of any loose detritus or dust which has landed on the shoe throughout the day. But I won't reach for the products and start applying chemicals to the shoe unless it's necessary. I hope that's answered your question. And finally, a bit of a bonus question. It's not about footwear, it's actually about cravats, because I'm still on a crusade to make cravats cool again. So, Alexander has asked me, cravat, ? When are they suitable to wear one? I have several and I wear them to work, but I do get asked, why are you dressed so posh? Classic style guides say that the cravat is a casual item, and that's true. I think what Alexander is getting at here is that people are unfamiliar with seeing a gentleman wearing a cravat, so they make the assumption that it's a special occasion when he wears one. But what we term as the cravat in daily use today, it would have been called a generation ago the day cravat. The cravat which is worn against the skin, under the collar of one's shirt, filling in that collar area, which just gives a little puff of colour, of texture and of pattern to the clothing that you're wearing. A day cravat. A few years ago, that would have been absolutely ordinary day-to-day wear, and if you look at the photographs and images of all of those golden era Hollywood stars, and at some point or another they've all been photographed wearing a cravat with generally just an open-necked shirt or a V-necked sweater, whatever it may be. It's not posh, it's not formal. However, because people have, you know, fallen out of love with a cravat, its usage has gone into abeyance in the modern era. When people see one today, they make a leap that it's something special, it's something out of the ordinary, and they assume that you're dressing for a special occasion, when actually it's just an informal situation. So that's when I would wear it, informally. You know, if I was just wearing a shirt and an open collared shirt out with a pair of slacks, perhaps a warm summer's evening, I'm going to meet some friends in the bar, rather than just wearing an open collared shirt, I would throw on a cravat as well, just to add some interest and colour to my attire. Or if I was wearing a V-necked sweater in the winter time, or whatever the situation dictates. Certainly I don't consider it to be a formal item. So keep wearing it for those informal situations, or any situation where you just don't fancy wearing a tie, but you feel naked without something in the collar area of your attire. Keep up the crusade, Alexander. I am so pleased to hear that you are punching the envelope and wearing a cravat. Well done to you, sir. My salute at the end of this video will be for you. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. Those 3 quick questions. Don't hesitate to drop me your questions if you'd like me to answer them. I can't give you the definitive answer, I can only give you my observations, and I hope that'll be helpful. So until the next time, take care of yourselves. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you like the channel, and I will see you again very soon.